Hello everybody, how are you doing? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel, and if you are one of my fellow folks from the United States, you will actually be watching this on Friday, November 26th, which means that for you, yesterday was Thanksgiving Day here in the United States. So I do hope that you had a great Thanksgiving if you were celebrating yesterday and got to see some people, eat a bunch of food, drink a bunch of beer, watch a bunch of football, do whatever it is that you do, friends, family, what have you. It's always a good, fun time here in the States for those of us, again, who do celebrate it. And I thought it would be fun, coming out of Thanksgiving, to make a video coming back to, of course, my favorite topic, a little franchise called Metroid. At this point, we only have about 5 weeks to go before 2021 is officially over, which is very crazy. I can vividly remember the very beginning of the year 2021 and what everything felt like at the time. And in fact, one of the things I vividly remember from the beginning of 2021 was the first video that I made for the channel, where I discussed with you guys that my hard prediction early in the year, this is January 3rd, mind you, the third day of the year, I told you that I believed we would see Metroid Prime 4 shown to us before December 31st of 2021. Now, a lot has happened in the world of Metroid, of course, since that video that I made. The biggest and most important thing, oh my god, is the fact that we actually had a new Metroid game revealed at E3 in June and then released just weeks ago on October 8th. That game, of course, being Metroid Dread, which is Metroid 5, the direct sequel to Metroid Fusion, blowing our minds. You've been listening to me just blab to you about it for hours on end ever since that game was revealed and released, and I made like 40 minutes worth of reviews, across 3 different videos, probably actually closer to an hour now that I think about it, and so many other things. So we did get Metroid revealed to us and released to us in 2021, which is fantastic, but of course, Metroid Prime 4 remains this elusive white buffalo of video games that, again, I predicted we would see before the year is over, and with only 5 weeks to go, I think it's fair to say we have one chance left to possibly see if my prediction becomes true. And of course, we know what that last opportunity is. It is, of course, the Game Awards. That's right, Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, which will be happening just in another week, in December of this year. Now, of course, one of my more recent videos from this past week was a discussion about the Game Awards, and it was a discussion about how I'm maybe not so happy with the Game Awards. I've been a longtime fan and supporter and defender of the idea of the Game Awards, and a defender of Jeff Keighley's efforts to try to create something like the Game Awards in the gaming space. I think it's an important thing to do. I think it's important that we have some sort of celebration to recognize the efforts of people who work on video games across all different facets of game development. But as the years have gone on, and especially this year and last year, I've really kind of started to feel the wear of maybe some of the bigger problems from the Game Awards, and this year I really am just not feeling it. And of course, that also came in tandem with an amazing announcement, the fact that Metroid Dread was actually nominated for Game of the Year. So the best possible outcome, Metroid Dread deservingly getting that Game of the Year nomination, also comes in tandem with probably the most frustrating year of the Game Awards I've personally ever felt. Now, before we dive any deeper into this whole topic about Metroid and what we might see or learn from the franchise at the Game Awards, I do like to remind you guys I'm always trying to grow the channel here on Rule of Two Review. I upload every single week. I talk about all things Nintendo, I talk about all things Metroid, and I discuss all things gaming. So as you watch this video, if you seem to like what I'm doing and what you hear, then I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel. So if I was to just cut to the chase for you guys and get right down to brass tacks with what I'm getting at in this video today, and it's the fact that with the Game Awards happening next week, and with Metroid Dread being a part of the conversation because it's nominated for 2 categories, including the most important, which is Game of the Year, I think that there are 3 big opportunities for us to see or experience some kind of big Metroid news or announcement or reveal. 3 different opportunities at the Game Awards next week, which, if you think about it, is pretty exciting and something that I think we'd all like to see happen. First and foremost, I think it's pretty obvious, and that would be if Metroid Dread somehow manages to win Game of the Year. And even though I am frustrated with the Game Awards and I am frustrated with Jeff Keighley and a lot of his decisions, I do still also care about Metroid Dread winning Game of the Year. And even though that might sound like a contradictory sort of opinion, it is what it is. I explained it in my video, so you should watch that if you want to further understand that. At the end of the day, my fanship of Metroid is more important than the frustrating aspects of the Game Awards to me. And so, obviously, it would be great to see Metroid Dread deservedly win that award. Now, another interesting part of the conversation around Metroid Dread specifically that I barely managed to touch on in a Q&A video a couple of weeks ago is this idea of maybe some DLC for Metroid Dread. And surprisingly, a lot of people, and myself included, have really thought about this and think that there's a great chance that this might be the first opportunity for Nintendo to release some kind of DLC for a Metroid game. And I think that Metroid Dread weirdly also becomes that perfect example of a Metroid game that would be worthy of DLC. I could see them adding a new area to the map, in ZDR, retroactively, even though, of course, spoiler alert, the planet blows up at the end of that game. Maybe they send her to a different area and we get some sort of new conclusion or narrative wrap-up to the game after the fact. Whatever the case, maybe they would be making some DLC for Metroid Dread, and so that could be a pretty big announcement for Nintendo to make about Metroid at the Game Awards. They previously revealed some of the Zelda Breath of the Wild DLC at the Game Awards, and if memory serves me, I think that they revealed and announced exactly what that DLC was, and then I think it actually dropped and became available that same day. So maybe they do something similar with Metroid Dread. And then, of course, that brings me to the final big option that could happen, which would be, as I predicted on January 3rd of this year, that maybe they finally show and reveal Metroid Prime 4. Again, this kind of brings me back to some of the more frustrating elements about the Game Awards, and it's the fact that we all, and I am super guilty of this. This whole video is an example of how guilty I am of this, by the way, and I know that. We're all so much more focused on just new game announcements, and we're not as focused on the awards. And that's frustrating to me because I am somebody who cares about the awards, and I want that to be the focus of the show. But the way it's been created and driven and the way money and sponsorships and previews kind of fund Jeff Keighley's whole Game Awards experiment, it's important for these reveals to happen. And so the show has always been crafted around the concept of new trailers and world premieres and all of that stuff. Oh, and I guess we'll smatter a couple of awards in there throughout the show as well, It's very frustrating and annoying, and I just don't love that about the Game Awards, but at the end of the day, if we separate ourselves from that kind of botched choice about the Game Awards, we come back to the fact that at the end of the day, it's still going to be a night of trailers and reveals of new games. Whether you like how they do it or not, it's going to happen, and I think that we can still allow ourselves to be excited for new game reveals, even if we don't like what it does to the Game Awards show. And so, yeah, Metroid Prime 4, man, I think that there is a great chance Nintendo is planning on making this the final stamp for the year, the final big announcement, and the final exclamation point on the year of Metroid. And you have to remember, my prediction on the third day of 2021 was that we would see Metroid Prime 4 revealed to us or discussed or shown like some kind of a new teaser or a trailer or anything. Any kind of acknowledgement from Nintendo about that game, that we would see it before December 31st. So the fact that it didn't happen in a Nintendo Direct or at E3, or even in a Metroid-specific kind of presentation that they might have done to celebrate the 35th anniversary, that doesn't matter. Because if they talk about it, if they reveal it, if they show even a 30-second teaser trailer with some kind of, small gameplay preview, maybe they give us an official title, maybe they confirm a release year of 2022 or whatever they might do, if they do something like that, 30 seconds at the Game Awards, then technically my prediction and guess, there was nothing informing that. I don't know anything about this. That was a guess. If that happens, then it's going to feel pretty cool to think that, wow, I somehow was able to kind of predict that might happen. And if we set aside the fact that I predicted it, it would also just be cool, and it would feel great for Metroid fans and Nintendo fans to see this game, to be reminded that it's coming, and it could just be great for the Metroid franchise as a whole. One of the big benefits to the Game Awards, just like with E3, is the fact that, most of the gaming industry is watching. When you have a Nintendo Direct, sure, you get a lot of non-diehard Nintendo fans watching, but the vast majority of the audience watching is going to be the diehard Nintendo fans, and most people might just catch up on the news after the fact when they just see, the headlines and the news blurbs. But with something like an E3, or something like a Game Awards, everybody of all fanships and all walks of life and all preferences and opinions are going to be watching that show. So any company that has some kind of a reveal of a new game or a new trailer or even the announcement of something like a release date for a hotly anticipated game, that gets a lot of buzz going. It gets a lot of eyes on that information, and everyone can feel the same level of hype and excitement around it, especially if they show something like a teaser or a trailer with significant gameplay and it looks awesome. That's going to get everyone paying attention to the game no matter what it is. And we might even see the triple threat happen. We might see Metroid Dread win Game of the Year. We might see Metroid Dread DLC talked about, and we might even see some kind of teaser or trailer for Metroid Prime 4. There is a chance that 1, 2, or all of those things happen at the show next week. And man, wouldn't that feel great. Like I said, when it comes to Metroid Dread's reveal, I had heard something a long time before the reveal of Metroid Dread that basically told me that almost for sure a 2D Metroid game was being made. And I was very careful with how I discussed it and made some videos and appeared on some podcasts and talk about that over the course of like 2020, I think. And, you know, I kind of like knew that there was a 2D Metroid game being made, but I didn't really know a lot of details. I certainly didn't know it was Metroid Dread. I didn't even think Mercury Steam was the team behind the game, and there were some more public rumors about Mercury Steam. And to be honest, I didn't actually think that that part was true, but I did basically know, you know, I'm going to say quote unquote basically know that a 2D Metroid game was probably in development. And sure enough, that turned out to be true. And so when I talk about the prediction I made at the beginning of the year about Metroid Prime 4 being shown in 2021, this is not that kind of scenario. I don't know anything. If it's true, it's just going to be a lucky guess for me, really, you know? Just because I'm a Metroid fan, I follow this stuff. I'm always waiting for the next info drop about anything Metroid. Metroid Dread was the perfect way. I mean, you can't write a better way to kind of tide us over from Metroid Prime 4. But I'll be honest with you guys, Metroid Prime 4 has a great chance of being an even more exciting reveal to me than Metroid Dread's. And I don't know that. I'm going to have to wait to see how and when it happens and what the game looks like and all this stuff. I have absolute faith the game is going to look amazing and it's going to blow our minds. But I can't really talk about the feeling I'll have until it actually does happen. My hope is that it happens at the Game Awards. Even though I'm sick of the Game Awards, I don't like what Jeff Keighley is doing, even though I give him props for creating the show in the first place. I'm feeling less and less invested. It feels more like a skeezy business practice than a legitimate, prestigious award show. I've got some issues with the Game Awards, but I still want Metroid Dread to win Game of the Year. It's important for the franchise, and it's important for that title. It would carry a lot of weight if that happens. So I am watching the show, mostly to see if Metroid Dread wins Game of the Year. And maybe we get a bonus of Metroid DLC or Metroid Prime 4. I think there's about 50-50 chance it might happen. So these are just my thoughts as we're a couple of days away from the Game Awards show actually happening. It could be a very exciting night for Metroid, but hey, even if it's not, maybe somehow they prove me wrong and it turns out to be a good show for other reasons. Maybe they focus on the awards the proper way. Maybe some other announcements get me very excited. That will probably happen. I mean, I like games, right? I like video games. So if you show me good new video games for any platform, I'm going to be excited. So that will be cool to see. But I'm mostly tuning in to see, first and foremost, if Metroid Dread wins Game of the Year, and secondly, to see if we finally get that Metroid Prime 4 teaser that I believe might still happen in 2021. So fingers crossed for all of us Metroid fans. And with that, I want to hear what you think. What do you predict? Do you expect Metroid to have a strong presence at the show? You think Dread will win Game of the Year? Do you think we'll see Metroid Prime 4 or DLC? Maybe you think I'm wrong and we won't see anything Metroid at the show. Whatever you feel, talk about it below. And with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.